All right, ladies and gentlemen, I think we are on live. And if you're looking at us from Singapore, I'd like to welcome you to Singapore. And if you are from elsewhere in any part of the world, just like to welcome you also to Singapore, wherever you are from the US, where Jamel is located. And right, just let me check if we are on Facebook Live, and we are. All right, hi, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you thank Jamel Thomas from coming in from the US, and we are live here in Singapore. It is 10 a.m., 10:33 a.m. on a Saturday morning, and I am 12 hours away. So it doesn't mean that you're always younger than me, Jamel. Like, you know, you are always younger than me by 12 hours. So like in 10 years, you're probably younger than me by 10 years. Jamel, welcome to Singapore. And I'm so glad to bring Jamel to our international audience, because he is part of this platinum platform of education that is a collaboration between Singapore and America for education. So without further ado, he's going to introduce himself to you as an international mentor as we collaborate on this educational platform for Life Skills Academy, and also for Gold Nuggets for Entrepreneurs, a new book that's coming up in 2022. Jamel, the floor is yours. Tell us who you are, what you do, and the expert you are in the field of podcast development, and also as the international mentor for your workshop for podcast development. Jamel, the floor is yours.
Hi, everybody. My name is Jamel Thomas. I am a professional podcaster / digital developer. So just a fancy title for just saying I do a lot of stuff online. Podcasting for me is one of those things that if you are interested in, you know, the whole old adage is just do it. And I think that's the first step to actually podcasting. When I first started off doing this, it just started off from a conversation. A friend of mine, I used to have deep conversations at lunchtime at work, and you know, I said we should just podcast it. So one day I just said, let's do it, and that's how it works. So I think that's my first advice to anybody who wants to podcast. You just need to do it. You know, don't worry about equipment. Don't worry about anything else. Just get going and start. So when I started with an iPhone and a tripod. And that's all you really need to get started is video. You know, you carry around video every day in your pocket with that phone. And as you develop, you buy equipment. So when we started off with the iPhone, we came up with a name. I got an LLC. I think that's one thing, if you want to think about doing it long term, looking to get an LLC and make it a business. Because I'm a firm believer in making everything you do scalable. You know, whenever you start something, and if you're really, really serious about it, always think long term down the line. What I want it to look like in 2 years, what I want it to look like in 5 years, what I want it to look like in 20 years. And so that's how you have to think when you're doing this and you want to be successful in doing podcasting. So I decided right away out the gate, get an LLC. So now I often wonder, IOW Network is an LLC, it's a business. From there, I thought we started maybe 2 months. I bought microphones. I bought the cheapest microphones you can find. I think I went on Amazon, and I think the mics were like, how much the mics? It was like $20 a piece, and the mic stands were $13 a piece. So that's a cheap investment. If it's just you or 2 other people, you're not really spending a lot of money. So because one thing is important in podcasting, or any kind of video, you want to make sure your audio is good. A lot of times when we first start out, when I say with the iPhone, the audio wasn't that great. But once I got rolling and got started, I still got my name out there. And people start seeing me on YouTube. People start seeing me, on Facebook and stuff like that. So then once I got the audio, then I brought in more people because people say, oh, they turn on your video, they hear great audio, they want to listen longer. So when I built for the audio, I went to getting a better camera. So I bought a camera, invested into a camera. Different ways how you can get a camera. You can pay outright. You can go on to what is that platform? Like Amazon. You can go get a used camera, pawn shop. Pawn shop has a lot of good cameras you can get very cheap, maybe $100 or less.
Can you give us the name again? The name again?
The pawn shop?
Yep.
See, I'm not sure. Do they have pawn shops? Pawn, P-A-W-N, pawn shop. Will you pawn it? Do you have a pawn
in
shop?
Singapore, like a converter, like the cash converter, a secondhand, a used, a pre-loved shop.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Or I think so that I'm not sure we talking about the same thing because they have. I think we do talking about like a thrift store. Yeah, you know what a thrift store is?
No.
See, it may be called something different in Singapore. So what they talk about is more like we call a thrift store. So, for instance, you go into a thrift store, it's secondhand or a consignment shop, places like that. That's a thrift store. But a pawn shop is where if you have an item and say like you got a camera and you don't want it no more, or you just need some money, you go to a pawn shop. The pawn shop will hold it for you and give you money for it.
In Singapore, the pawn shops are only for gold and diamonds.
Right. Okay. Same thing, but in the U.S. you can pawn anything.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Not just gold and diamonds. You can pawn anything. So maybe that idea may not work in Singapore.
Yeah.
But and they have other apps you can use. I'll look it up right now because right now. Offer Up is a good app to use.
Can you say that again?
Offer Up.
Offer Up.
Yeah, like you offering up something is an app.
How do you spell that?
OFFER. Offer Up.
Offer. I see.
Offer Up. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Wow.
And you can go on an app, click on it, type in camera, and different people are selling cameras all across the world.
Wow.
And you can buy a camera that way. Sometimes you get a camera cheap that way. Like I said, on Amazon, you can buy it outright. You don't really need to start off with a real expensive camera. You can do, like I think my first camera was a Canon T60. No, TS. A camera T6. And I spent a couple $100 for that one. And then once I upgraded from that, I bought a Sony camera. That was like $800 or $900. And so then I bought an audio interface. What that does is like, so basically audio interface is something you plug your microphones in and it puts out your audio. It converts your audio. So a good investment on that is it's called a Rodecaster. So I bought a Rodecaster. I went to a company online called Sweetwater, and I put down $100. I paid $100 a month till I paid it off. That's one way you can do it if you don't have the money up front. The good thing about a Rodecaster is it controls your audio, it converts your audio. It has a sound pad, so if you want to load different things in your sound pad, you can. Like for instance, I don't know, mine's is connected to here. So it's easy if you're doing like Zoom or anything like that. You got your Rodecaster connected and that's loaded into my.
Can you try a couple of songs? Like
I don't know how many.
Sounds? Yep.
Yeah, so I got that on here. Let me see.
Wow. It's professional.
So I play that. Sometimes I play that for my podcast. Then I have I think I got a commercial on here that I did.
Hey gang, you up late at night and yearning for sports? Are you a night owl? Well, tune into the late night Wild Card Mar here on
That's professional.
And so those things you can load different sounds onto your sound pad. And if you're doing your podcast, you can click your different sounds and it'll run right through and play your auto smooth transition. So it's a good investment.
Let's go back to this roller.
Rode.
Okay, tell us about this brand. Tell us a bit about this brand that you have invested in.
So Rode does a lot of things. You can see this is a Rode microphone. This is a Rode microphone stand, and the Rode caster is it's an audio interface. So basically what it is, it controls my headphones goes into it, my microphone goes into it, my computer's plugged up to it. So all my stuff that I have for my podcast runs through the Rodecaster. When I'm on a radio station doing a radio, all that stuff is plugged in through my Rodecaster. So the great thing about the Rodecaster is each microphone you set on here, you can set. So like if you was on it, I can have yours set to how your voice want to sound deeper on there. You can do that. Or higher, you want to do that, and you kind of it changes your pitch and tone.
Can you try that?
Let me see. I don't know if you better tell the difference.
So you kind of can change the pitch, right?
Well, it's set particularly to your voice. So if you have a say like you talk very low, you can change it so you can make the audio levels go higher. Let me see. If I turn this up, see how high that went. Okay. Let me turn it back down to what I have.
Hello.
Yeah. So okay, I turn it down. So this is down.
Okay.
This is down. No, it's not for you. It's only for people who's plugged into the microphone.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Because only you are plugged in.
Yeah.
So that means this roll
caster
is actually like a machine.
Yes.
That kind of have all these buttons.
Correct.
That they can process and control audio.
Yeah, it processes all your audio. So like for instance, when I was just using just the camera without the Rodecaster, a lot of times in post when I had to post edit, I would have to sometimes adjust the audio. So like if my co-host Lamar, so like his audio was like what they call running hot, too high, I'll have to kind of adjust it in post. But with the Rodecaster, and I had to put little effects on it because the audio may not sound as great. But with the Rodecaster, what you can do is already set the mic how you want it, how you think it sounds perfect, and already process it. You don't have to worry about all that. You just
can you try to play a few seconds of the music that you were trying to play so that we want to hear that effect, the sound. Wow. So that's professional. That's professional sound on a podcast, and people want to listen to these sounds. Yeah, but can you tell us how do you get these sounds? Are they already inbuilt into the machine, or do you have to download?
So you have to download the audio and set it to what you want. So like when it first comes, it comes with preset audio. So it has like it has a preset.
The default menu they already
have. Yeah. So the basic stuff you have with the rim shot, like when somebody tell a joke, that's a rim shot. It has that in there, has like built-in applause. But most of that stuff I don't even have it on the work because I customize it to the different shows that I do. Or for instance, if I was coming on a show to interview you, I would go online, YouTube, download some things you might have said. I say, hey Vicky, remember on June you said this, and I play the audio.
Yeah.
And so I use it for stuff like that when I'm interviewing people. I do research on them. And when I do the research, they may have something on YouTube, or they may have an audio. I download that into there and I play it.
Like an intro, right?
Like an intro. Or they said something, they might say something that was very interesting on their podcast. I say, hey, I remember you said this. Let's play it so people can remember what you said. And I play it. And then it helps for building discussion. You know, a lot of times I use it as a good conversation starter. So
do you want to play something for your show, IOW Sports, or?
I don't think I have. I don't have any. I got like that's the intro to IOW Sports. So I had that preloaded. So we get ready to start it.
And how important are these?
It's so for me, I think if you want the professional touch, it's a great investment, because no matter what you're doing, you have the stuff to your at your fingertips. So when I'm doing the sports show, so right now we do 2 shows. We do the sports show, IOW Sports, and we do the I Often Wonder show, which kind of talks about different topics and stuff. You know, we try to tackle a lot of different topics that's going on in the world. So with the sports show, LeBron has said something that was interesting. And I said, hey, you know what? That's what LeBron said. It's good so people who are listening, they might not have heard what LeBron said. And I might have forgot how it was word for word. And so I can play it where people can hear it. And I said, oh, okay, yeah. Like you watching ESPN, same thing, they do it.
I see.
Yeah, so
you download that particular clip from YouTube.
Right.
And then you play it through your machine there, and then you can make a commentary, a sports commentary.
Right.
Like Entertainment Tonight for sports.
Yes, same thing.
I see.
Yeah.
And I think that's important for a podcaster, because you are kind of gearing up the expectation, the momentum, and the mood into a podcast show. It kind of like frames and sets it up.
Right. And that's a professional touch, you know. When people are listening, you know, oh, wow, I like that. Because it sounds like something you're used to hearing on a bigger network, on TV, stuff like that. So it kind of it puts you on par with bigger companies without with a minimal investment. You know, so I think that's one thing is concentrate. If you're just doing strictly podcasting, not doing any video, concentrate on your audio. Always look to tone and make your audio as great as it can be. I think that's what's important to me, you know. And I think with the audio, when we upgrade our audio, that took our thing to a whole nother level, a network. Now people are like, oh man, I really love your audio. And the microphone, this microphone here was $100. So we had to buy 3 at the time. We had 3 people, now it's just 2 of us. And I upgraded these microphone stands because the cheaper ones are good to start you off, but the bad thing about the cheaper ones, when you move it, you can hear this when you move it. See, with a little bit more investment, I can move it and you don't hear that noise. So it's $100 for each one, but like I said, you have to invest. And then I bought this here. This is an audio enhancer. So it boosts your audio too. So now I don't have to turn my levels on here up so high, because I already automatically boosts my audio. So just there's a little things that you can do to kind of make your audio better. Now, if you're doing video, same thing with video. If you're doing video, get you a decent camera. You want to, like, the Sony is a great camera. I like Sony. My Canon was good. Don't get me wrong, I enjoyed my Canon, but the Sony to me had a better picture. So I spent a little more money for my Sony. And then the next thing I did to improve my audio is that I bought the foam pads, and I put it throughout the studio to kind of, keep the sound from reflecting all over the room. You don't hear that echoing. So that's another minimal investment. Depending on the size of your room, I think I bought 3 packs at $20 a pack, something like that. And now one thing I'll tell you, you don't want soundproof. Soundproof is only for recording artists, if you're singing and stuff like that. You want what they call treat your room. So you don't need them behind you. You most want it like on the side.
What's that word?
Treating, like you treating your room. Treating, like you want to treat your room.
Okay. Yeah. Treat the room.
Treat the room. Right. You don't want to sound. A lot of people think, I soundproof it. But when you soundproof for podcasting, it makes your audio sounds artificial, because soundproof is just for like recording artists and singing and stuff like that. You want to treat it, and you just you don't have to put it behind you. You put it on the sides, you in the front of you, and that helps with your audio. It makes it sound better, because the sound bounces. And so this helped absorb that, so it doesn't bounce all over the place. You don't get the echoing and that kind of sound. And then the next thing I did, I bought a green screen, as you can see. And the green screen, like I said, it comes on a pole. For me, I just took some thumbtacks and put on my wall. So now I have more room behind me. With the poles, they kind of stick out, and so that takes up some of your space, especially if you're in a small space. I mean, I don't have a small space anymore, but when you have a small space and you got poles here and poles there, it takes up a lot of room. So a great tip is you take the green screen off the poles and you just take like push pins or thumbtacks and just tack them in, because you're not aiming up at top, so no one sees that. And lighting is key. You have to have great lighting. And one of the things I tell you is, when you're lighting up a room, especially for a green screen, you want 2 lights pointing directly at the green screen. Then you want a third light pointing over you. So what that does, that separates you from the green screen. So you don't like you're bleeding in, anything like that. So I have great lighting. So I bought lighting. I think you can get a lighting package with 3 lights, about $120. So, now you can, of course, you can increase and invest and get better lighting and go up. But I think for what you're doing, if you're doing video, that's a great.
Lighting is important for women.
Yes, it is. It's very important.
Yeah. That's why you have the, the influencers on YouTube, do their makeup.
Yes.
Everything is just on this close-up thing, right? So you talked about, let's review. You talked about, number one, you started off with an iPhone.
Correct.
And you got your microphone, and then you got your camera. Then you invested in this machine called the roller coaster.
Almost. Roadcaster.
Okay, R-O-D-E.
R-O-D-E. Roadcaster.
Roadcaster.
No.
Roadcaster.
Road. Yep, there it is. That's what you said right there.
R-O-A-D-C-A-S-T-E-R.
Yes, but R-O-D-E. Roadcaster.
C-A-S-T-R. Okay, so the Roadcaster is a reliable brand. Then after that, you invested in a lighting and also the green screen, and also the stand that you talked about is important. I mean, these are items that it kind of like sets you up basic as a podcaster. And you talked about the green screen, and then you talked about the light. That's a lot of things that you could choose from a range of prices, right? So you can go to the website, you can buy a pre-loved second-hand item, like a camera. You don't have to invest in an expensive one at first. But there's a lot of, you have been doing this for a couple of years, right?
Correct.
Jamel? Tell us.
So I've been doing this right before the pandemic hit. We kind of started like that year that the pandemic hit, 2 months before, like January or February, we started. And I think like
2020.
Yeah, 2020. And then when March hit, that's when the pandemic started. And we was at home more, so we just started cranking out videos. And we started off with the I Often Wonder, and that name kind of came from like, because a lot of times I'm at home, like, I wonder why, women say certain things.
I often wonder.
That's all. Like, I wonder why birds do such and such. And, I always think about these different things in my mind. And so I say, we should call it that because we can discuss things that we often think about. And so that's how some of the topics came about that we talk about. Because I have a friend who's in the LGBTQ community and also goes to church. And so my mind was like, well, how does that work? How do you reconcile the two things? Because, we see that the church and that community is always at odds. So I called people up from that community and brought them on the show. Hey, let's talk about it. And we had a discussion.
Okay.
So that's how I talk. So my thing is like this. I'm a type of person, I'm not afraid to talk about anything and tackle different subjects. Sometimes we do silly stuff. Sometimes we do controversial stuff. When the George Floyd and all that stuff happened here, we talked about it. It affected us because I'm Black, so it automatically affected me. And then it was a controversial subject that everybody was talking about. And so we gave our opinion on it. We talked about sex. And one of the things we did was I thought that it would be good not only just to sit and talk about it, but get a professional. So we got a sex therapist on and we kind of talked to her about, what is it like with couples? What's it like if you had these questions about sex in the bedroom and stuff like that, or just in general?
Exactly, because now you're talking about podcast content, right? And podcast directions. Even before we go into the content, because I really want you to talk about it deep, selection of topics, relevance to you and the audience. Tell us about podcast platforms and how do you choose platforms? Even for myself, I choose Anchor because it's free. Tell us about choices, selection.
So I'm glad you said that because one of the things we did, we started off using Anchor too because it was free, and free is my favorite price. So, we started off with Anchor, and I tell a lot of people too, when you starting off with doing podcasting, unless you have the money, you have the money, you can go all in. But if you starting off with a small budget, you look for the little things you can do either cheap or inexpensive. So Anchor is a good platform to start off with. And Anchor gets you connected to Apple, Spotify, one of the two biggest platforms out there. One of the two biggest platforms out there. And a couple of small ones, I forgot, Overcast and a few of them like that. So Anchor is good for that. It automatically, in the platform, you upload your audio and it automatically distributes you out throughout the different platforms once you connect your RS feed and all that stuff. Now, from there, if you want to upgrade, you can go to Buzzsprout. I particularly like Buzzsprout.
Buzzsprout, okay.
Yes.
And for the audience, is Buzzsprout. I've heard a lot about that. Tell us.
I like Buzzsprout because what Buzzsprout do now, Buzzsprout gave me the opportunity. Now I'm on Pandora, iHeartRadio, TuneIn. So just about all the platforms that host audio, Buzzsprout got me connected to.
I see.
So I thought that gave me a greater audience range. So now I'm on every platform. So somebody I'm talking to, hey, listen to my podcast. Well, I don't really have Apple. I'm always on Pandora. I'm on Pandora. Download on that. Or I'm on Alexa. Download on that.
It's like an aggregate. It's like the mother, right?
Yeah.
And then it kind of like distributes to all these places.
All the platforms.
Tell us the cost.
$25 a month. Well, that's the entry level one because it gives you 12 hours, but it sounds like it depends on how much you podcast. And for me, that's perfect for me because we do twice a week. Well, 3 times we include the off the wonder and an hour 2 hour show on sports, 1 hour, right? So 3 hours usually per week. So that's enough a month because if you multiply, that's 12 hours. So right at that mark.
I see.
So we may decide to upgrade that.
It goes by volume, right? So
yes.
That is good for entry level because it's like 12 hours per week.
Right.
And tell us what else about the advantages.
One other advantage I like that it has is I like the analytics. So I can go in and click on stats, scroll down. I can see where the percentage of people are listening to it. So for us, of course, the United States is our greater audience, but our second greatest audience is Germany. So what it does, it have a map of the world, and it show you percentage by region. Then you can scroll down, and it breaks it down even further, like per country. Then it goes down and breaks it by per city. So I can see, okay, how many people in Los Angeles listen to this? How many people in St. Louis? How many people in Singapore? How many people in Hamburg, Germany? How many people in Tokyo, Japan? I can break it down. And I kind of say, okay, if I got a lot of people in Germany listen to it, you kind of give shout outs to Germany and all that stuff and try to build your audience in there. I got a few people in the UK that listens to it. So it gives me a good idea of how many people listen to it. It also tells you how many downloads you get. So you can say, oh, this particular subject got a lot of downloads. Maybe I should do a part 2 on that.
And you don't get the downloads from Anchor because you
do, but it's not as in detail.
Yeah, because I'm using Anchor, but I can't get the number of downloads because I've got the Anchor that broadcasts to Google podcast and also Spotify
and Apple.
Is there a way to find out the downloads from there?
Well, Anchor, if you click on episode and scroll down, it'll show the number of downloads on the side, but it doesn't break it down in detail like Buzzsprout does. Buzzsprout breaks it down very detailed. Even breaks it down to like you can go like the first 5 episodes, how many downloads you get, and go from that to 7 to 30 and so forth. You can actually like kind of pick out exactly where you're more popular at, what subject was more popular, and things like that nature. So that kind of gives you an idea how to hone or change maybe some of the things you were doing, or even honing into certain audience, certain demographics. That's why I like it. So when we have our quarterly meetings and stuff like that, you can sit down and say, hey, look, this subject right here that we did was real popular. Let's do a part 2 to that. Or we're really popping over in Germany. Let's do something that's kind of geared towards people in Germany and try to like build that audience. Or I want to build, or the opposite of that, you're not really doing that many downloads in say like Singapore. Let's see what we can do to kind of build our audience in Singapore. So it's good for those kind of things when you try to strategize and how to build your platform to reach out to different people. That's why I like it.
Wow. So there you have it. I mean, so these are some of these essential steps to starting out like a startup, because now tell us, Jamel, before we go into, we may have to go to part 2, to showcase what you do, particularly for radio and the rights for photos, rights for videos, rights to use, the difference between licensing, getting the license to play on YouTube, on Facebook, etc., on radio. We'll talk about that I think is so important because we want to make sure we're doing things right and not be caught in a space whereby we are being sued because we didn't know the rights to that. I think that's very important. But before we do that, tell us, how do we get inspirations for content like what you say? So now let's talk about this big thing about content.
Content is content is, I tell people content is constantly around you. Content, you are living, breathing content. So what I mean by that is that now let me before I get into that, let me back up and say it depends on your focus on your podcast.
Focus.
So whatever your focus is, see, for us, our focus is geared towards, subjects that are, I don't want to say controversial, but subjects that people may wonder about but are afraid to speak about. So for our show, our content is a little easier because I can go down Twitter, and so one good thing for me is like I stay on my social media.
Yeah.
Because that helps me build content. Oh, this is real popular. Let's talk about this. What's trending? Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
That's one part of it. The other part of that is, what's near and dear to us. And I say us, I'm talking about Lamar and I. What's near and dear to us? In the United States, here being Black, sometimes there's a lot of things going on in the United States for us and that people are talking about in our community. And so a lot of times we deal with those, and sometimes we on the side of people that agree, sometimes on the side of people that don't agree. I don't worry about that. I did my concern is getting the voice out there. Because we're trying to build a multimedia company, and so I think content is all around you. And I think the greatest thing about social media is that it's full of content. It's full of content, So I'm on Twitter. I'm scrolling through IG, Facebook.
Yeah, and Jamel, you also talked about having a team. Like there are two of you, right? As a co-host or as an interchangeable host.
I have to have a third person. That's only for our sports show, though.
Oh, okay.
We had a third person for our sports show. He's out of New Jersey. So
yeah. So now back to this content. Now you've got inspirations. You get inspirations from Twitter, from social media, what's trending, from the news. Tell us, what's your decision for that particular episode?
So what I normally do is
because there's so much content out there, right?
So what I normally do is I have a couple of subjects and I say, you know what? I want to talk about this. So I run about Lamar. So what do you think about this, man? I think this is something we can talk about. We kind of talk about it, chop it up and say, hey, I think that'd be great. And then we go ahead and put it out. A lot of times, certain instance dictates that. So, for instance, the thing that happened at the Oscars, that dictates putting out because that's something that's popular that people are talking about.
Advertisement. Are you doing a show on Chris Brown? Chris
Rock? Yeah, we did it already. Yeah, I put it out. I did. We put it out already last Thursday. Yeah.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, go to IOW Sports, right?
I often wonder.
Oh, you've got two, right? You're telling me.
Yeah. So we got the sports show. Yeah. And I often wonder when we talk about different topics.
So tell us now. We're talking about content, and you've got two channels. I mean, do you call them two channels? Two shows within
two shows, two channels. Yeah. So I got separated. When we initially started the sports show, it was on the same thing, and I said, "Well, I separated because I wanted because my vision." Let's go back to what I said earlier. What's your long-term goal? 5 years, 10 years. So my vision is to build the sports to be digital ESPN.
Wow.
I want to eventually connect with people that's maybe doing hockey. We talk about hockey, but we're not big on hockey. So I get somebody doing hockey, bring them under the IOW network logo and company. And they talk about hockey. So we covering hockey. It's not necessarily Lamar and I doing it. And then like NASCAR. I'm not really big on NASCAR. Find somebody doing NASCAR, bring them in under IOW network, and then I'm talking about NASCAR. And so what you're doing is you're building awareness into other audiences. That's all you do is talking about it and putting your company's name out. And also you meet new people. I love meeting new people. So it's kind of doing all the stuff I like to do, you know. And I think so that's one of the things I want to do with the sports show. But I often wonder, it got me a chance to meet people all over the world. And so that's one of the things I always want to do, is talk to different people from different walks of life, different countries. So it afforded me the opportunity. I've talked to people in Germany. I've talked to people in the UK. I've talked to people in Singapore. You know, I've talked to people. I think I've talked to somebody in Africa before. So I've talked to people all over the world, all over the country. You know, all over the United States. People in California, Mississippi, all the United States. I can talk to people. Canada. You know, we got friends. We had developed a friendship with a couple people in Canada. So they on Sirius FM, and on their network, Canada Talks, I probably talked to like about a good 10 hosts on that show, because, you know, I started off with talking with one. I said, hey, you know, what's that show? Can you get me in contact with that person? And they got me in contact with that person, and I just kind of built. So I know a few people on that station, but it afforded me, this podcast afforded me the opportunity to meet new people. And I gotta say, if it's just something you want to do and you like talking to different people, this is a great way to do it. A great way.
Yeah. And you talked about, like, because you set a vision and you wanted it to be a long-term endeavor, a long-term project, and also a business, there must be certain decisions and criteria that you go through in order to arrive at a decision, like, I'm going to go do sports, right? And this is something that new upcoming budding podcasters will need to think about. And you're going to roll out a workshop on podcasting for young people, right? Or I should say, not young in terms of just the age, but I should say young podcasters. Debutantes, right? People who are going to debut into the podcast economy. So I think that is something that we can talk about in your workshop. And Jamel, it is so fascinating as we dig into the operations of a successful podcast, the characteristics, the tips, the decision-making processes, and also the process of digging into content, digging into marketing, promoting in visually, audio, and also we will talk about like radio. I'm just thinking, because it is so interesting and there's so much to learn from you. And also this is a promotion of you as a podcast developer, and also to introduce what you do for your workshop. I thought it's apt to do a part 2, a follow-up from this part 1 introduction. What do you think, Jamel?
That works for me.
Yeah, you know, so I think it's good because it's like a teaser, right? Letting people know who Jamel Thomas is, and also what you do, and also triggering the interest of you know, this growth curve of a podcast. Like as you say, you introduce it, people came in on an entry level, and then they can grow it and developing, buying more expensive equipment for the intermediate, and then the expert, right? This curve that people go through. And then, like what you say, when you first started, the content could be everywhere because it's so much, but then later on you focus and you chose sports commentary, right? And some of these decision making you need to do when you go into the growth stage of a podcast enterprise. So I'm trying to break down and summarize what you say, because it is a lot when you come to the growth of a podcast development, and then going into the expert and mature stage of a podcaster, and then enterprising it into a business, and then putting it out there. And it's no more just as a hobby, as an entry level, but you want to see it grow to be professional. You want to make it sound professional. You want to make sure that you have a real presence in the world, like getting all this data, analyzing the data, and then reaching out to the right audience, and also like timing it, right? When you want to go live. Isn't it? Right, because you're talking about a 24/7 world that is chugging on. You want to reach out to American audience, and then to European audience, and then to the Asian audience. I think we can talk about it even more in part 2. And this is really exciting, Jamel, for the first 45 minutes with you. People can hear from you. What goes into the intermediate and expert stage of a podcasting development? Jamel, what do you think?
Well, intermediate, like, I think I always say, just do it. And then when you're developing something, you always have to keep in mind, I always say, like, what you want your baby to look like. What you want it to look like, what you want it to sound like. You always want to keep that in mind, even when you in a process of speaking. I always had in the back of my mind what I want this to look like, what I want it to sound like, because you can easily get into a conversation and it goes left, or you veer off of what your identity is as a podcaster. So you always have to keep that in mind.
You're right. You're talking about that podcast persona.
Yes.
That you want to achieve. Now, I think you have given a lot of teaser today, right? Into your workshop, which we will roll out in Life Skills. But we want to talk even more in the next episode, part 2 of this promotion episode, about some of the things we do, because we're really just drawing this curve, or this S-curve growth into podcasting. The first part, getting the equipment and then growing it, and then going to the another level about going to different platforms, from podcast to radio, and then also like what you say, content. Even within like 30 minutes, how do you do opening, how do you do closing, and then in between, how do you develop your content conversation? So can we expect more from you, Jamel, as the podcast expert?
Of course.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jamel. So ladies and gentlemen, that's about 45 minutes from Jamel Thomas, a teaser into his workshop. And the workshop is going to be offline. So this is a teaser, this is a promotion about him, about his brand, about what he did as a podcast platform developer. And we're going to hear from him episode 2 of this promotion. Will we hear from you next week about all these bullet points, Jamel?
Yes, ma'am.
Great. And that's the expert there, ladies and gentlemen. Jamel, would you like to do a shout out to your shows that people can listen to and can go to, the 2 shows that you have, and where they can find them?
Yeah, so I often wonder, it's on every platform you can think of as far as podcasting, so Apple, iHeart, TuneIn, Spotify. You just type in I often wonder, and you will see our logo with the 3 eyes and a podcast mic. So if you're looking for the video version, we're on YouTube. We're on YouTube. So you can actually go to YouTube and type in I Often Wonder podcast.
Can you spell it out? Can you spell it out?
Yes, that's I, and then OFTEN, Wonder, WONDER. I often wonder.
So that's 3 words, right?
3 words, right.
Okay, 3 words. And tell us about your sports channel.
The sports channel is we do live every Monday and every Thursday at 4:00. We stream live to our Facebook group. So we originally had a Facebook page, and then we just started a Facebook group, which a month ago, maybe 2, it's already grown over 300 members. So it's a public group. All you do is go on. It's called IOW Sports Network on Facebook. You go in there and you can drop any kind of sports, any sports you want. You can upload pictures, talk about sports. But if you love sports, it's a great platform, and you can promote your own sports show in there. The one thing we focus on is networking. So it's for networking in sports. So we stream live to that page, stream live to YouTube and to Twitch. Those 3 platforms.
YouTube, right?
Yeah, so
YouTube, right?
You find us on YouTube. You gotta make sure you put the dots in I.O.W.sports.
Okay, we will keep that. And you're gonna explain to debutantes how do they go live on these platforms. And also, I'm not on Twitch, but that sounds really interesting. So I'm not going to take too much time from you, because I want this to be a teaser, to be the opener of your next show, the next episode, to tune in to Jamel Thomas and me here live on Facebook and YouTube. We're going to talk about what he offers in his workshop. And because we are being in the digital world, you can hold your workshop everywhere in the world, right?
Right.
So I'm really thinking that, this is a good opening, a good promotion to the workshop that we're going to roll out in Life Skills Academy for young people, where they can learn to find a voice, or they can learn to develop an enterprise like a startup. And then we can talk about marketing, promotion, and talking about the data, downloading and going live.
Right.
I think this is really exciting, Jamel, that you have spent with us 45 minutes, almost an hour now. Thank you so much, Jamel. And that's the expert there, Jamel Thomas. And he is actually casting now from, where are you now, Jamel?
In North Carolina.
North Carolina. So now you are in North Carolina, and I'm in Singapore. So ladies and gentlemen, that's the power of the metaverse. Thank you so much, Jamel. And I'm going to come back to you next week. So ladies and gentlemen, an exciting workshop from Jamel Thomas. I'm going to talk to you again. Bye.
Okay. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Before that, 5 seconds, say goodbye, anything.
One thing I'll tell you is keep pounding, keep grinding, and your dream will come. All right, Vicky. Bye.
Bye.